This is the second part of a two-part series. If you haven't seen it yet, check out the first half on the Xeris channel, or you can find the link down in the description. So, we've got your sisters prepped for battle, but now we've got to make sure we use them right. While the kits themselves are simple, there are lots of ways they combine with each other to create much bigger payoffs. This can create a lot of important choices, whether you're using them or playing against them. So let's turn your Nightsisters into Nightsisters. First, let's talk about Terminator. It's all over the place in their kits, the engine beneath the hood that pushes the team from forgettable to surprisingly scrappy. The most notable moment for Terminator is when an ally dies. This feeds Daka a whopping 50% Terminator, with Asajj a respectable 35%. While it's difficult to set up or time an ally's death, this is where Mother Talzin Lead comes into play. Once an ally is dead, Talzin Lead lets us use our basic attack to start feeding Terminator to Daka and Asajj. It also presents us with a constant choice. Would we rather use a special move for a hopefully useful effect, or should we hit our basic for huge benefits? Should we revive as soon as possible, or can we risk keeping team members dead to keep raking in rewards? These are the questions at the heart of playing Nightsisters under Talzin Lead, and is also what leads to their greatest powers. Anytime you take a turn with an ally dead, keep these interactions in mind. A basic is never just a basic. Last, let's talk about revives. While Daka is usually the easy way to keep your team afloat, we've all run into unlucky matches where the AI focuses down Daka really hard, and you're stuck with no easy way to bring her back. This leaves us with two options. If we're able to secure the kill with Mother Talzin's mass assist, this brings back all members of the team at full health for the team's usually best possible 55 banners. Now, that's fine and all, but sometimes you need a scrappier option. This is where it's important for you to know that you can start a rally to bring all of your sisters back to life, so long as you get the kill shot with the same basic that revives Daka. On the topic of revives, it's important that you know that Zombie cannot automatically revive someone who was killed by out-of-turn damage. This includes Plague, damage over time, and burning effects. If you're going up against the Nightsisters, you can use this mechanic to bypass a kill on a very critical target like Daka, if you're skilled enough to line it up. One last note, ideally you should place Daka in the second slot for the team. While it's not likely to matter in most situations, it does mean that Daka will be favored by Zombie's revive more than someone in the third or fourth slot. Beyond that, the fights largely come down to matchup specifics, which is why it's time for Xerath and I to break down a few examples. Let's jump into it. Alright, let's get into some gameplay here. We're starting off with probably one of the hopefully simpler fights that you can find here. This is kind of the usual Nightsister versus Grievous. Now here we have Newt, which is actually, I would say, one of the harder versions. Usually you're happier to see something like a BB-8 or a Droideka. But yeah, we have this example from Xerath over here. Yeah, let's just get into it, man. Okay. We got two of you.
Heck yeah. I never knew I needed two of my faces on the screen at once. Gosh. Oh, man.
Now you can't quit it.
I don't know if that was the best choice, just hitting Newt right off the bat, because it gives Grievous immediate AoE, and it doesn't actually kill Newt.
Yeah, it's the way I saw that is the benefit is now that you've got this plague out, right? You are kind of putting Newt on a clock that you will get to keep Newt. Kind of the same as B1, right? The moment that B1 gets plague on him, he's on a timer. I don't necessarily disagree with that choice, but yeah. So going into this fight, most of the early game right now, I would say, if you would agree, is we're mostly just trying to get through it, right? We're worried about Zombie's going to lose the two revives instantly, no problem. We're mostly just looking for Plague to start getting some guaranteed damage. And one of the harder parts of this fight we see right now is B1 did not get Plague. B1, I would usually say, is the first person to drop in this fight, right?
Yeah, I mean, if you can manage that, then absolutely.
Right. So, we're kind of working through this fight right now. There's a lot of AoE going out. We see our sisters are first starting to drop. And here is probably the scary moment. If we could actually pause and go back to that.
Yeah, let's do it. That was tense. I don't know where it is though. There we go. This should be.
Looking for Grievous to hit a fat AoE. So here's our scary moment. This is when we're saying that Daka really needs that Zeta, when we're saying, maybe get her to Relic 3 to Relic 5, right? This is where everything comes into play. So we have her immediately getting all that full turn meter, so she's the next one to go the moment everyone dies. And you, of course, pop the ult. Nothing too fancy here. Nothing too fancy to think about either. But yeah, we go ahead and get 2 out of 3, which isn't bad.
Not too bad. About what you'd expect math-wise, I think.
Yeah. Now, with Asajj being out of the picture, are you worried about getting her back, or, what are you thinking at this point in the fight?
I think at this stage, I just want people to die so that I can keep getting Daka turns and so that I can keep building Daka. Because once you get to a certain point with Daka, as long as she doesn't get stunned, then you're just not going to lose. Once she gets to multiple hundreds of thousands of health. But, I mean, yeah, it's nice to have Asajj back, of course, because she's not ramping her damage if she's dead.
Right. And are there any sisters for whom, like, the moment that you lose them, you're feeling kind of okay about, like, we don't need to bring them back immediately. Maybe we'll leave them dead and keep basicking?
Yeah, so definitely fine with doing that on Talzin and on Spirit. Especially, I mean, both of them are nice, especially if people have Plague on them already and just calling Talzin to assist. It's nice. When both of them are dead, I feel like that's about the time that I want to start reviving, though. Hit that revive button.
Right. I always tend to be a little bit greedy. If I have 2 dead, I'll like try to sneak in a couple of basics, but definitely just if you're gonna do that, just be aware that you are taking a risk, right? Every sister that we lose is putting us one step closer to losing a few too many.
Absolutely. And you see, I'm kind of playing with my food here. I think, like, I killed Newt before I killed Grievous. You don't have to do that, because Grievous will force a taunt onto other droids. You can't do that to Separatists, so...
Right.
That was one of the more difficult ones. I think I probably made a few poor gameplay choices as well. This is over a year ago that I was streaming this, so
right.
It happens. So now we've got you narrating and playing. Let's
yeah. Speaking of poor gameplay choices, this is an example of, in the intro we talked about the sisters having big comeback potential. This is both an example of a fight gone wrong, but also how you can kind of claw your way back in. I think if we go ahead and kick in here.
So this is against the BB-8 variant, so they're going to take a ton of turns right away. You guys are just going to die really quickly.
Yep, and, BB-8 hits you with the second pre-taunt, and Asajj really got shut down, so we don't even necessarily get her... the initial buff strip that normally helps us a lot here. We do get the Plague on B1, but actually, that, as much as it is nice to get B1 out, that also means that Grievous will essentially have a certain number of turns before that B1 is just going to give him an extra AoE. And yeah, we'll see pretty quickly this fight can take a very quick turn. There's one scare here that we'll get to in a second that, yes,
yeah,
things can look real south.
Absolutely. And I think for this specific lineup, I always find if I can get a kill on, if I can time it just right to be able to kill 2 droids at once, like you can somehow kill, like BB-8 and B1, that's perfect, because then Grievous only takes 1 bonus turn.
Talzin basic usually feels like the dream spot to hit that, right?
Yeah, that absolutely works. Sometimes you get lucky with the Daka double tap, but or Asajj, the Asajj AoE can also work, but yeah, I would say in general that's what you want to, that's what you're looking for is the Plague tap from Talzin.
All right, so at this point in the fight, you can see things actually look pretty stable right now, right? All of our systems are pretty healthy. we didn't necessarily take anyone, but suddenly, yeah, that B1 bomb that we started paid off immediately with all of our sisters dead. Magnagard hit us with the first stun. Grievous hit us with the second stun, and this to me is the Night Sister nightmare. Your chance to revive is gone. Your team is gone. Daka, I wouldn't really say I skimp on my Daka. I think she's about Relic 4. I've always tried to make sure that she has at least some solid 6E health mod sitting around. And yet she just got pretty much blown away immediately. So I think this right here is both an example of how Nightsisters comebacks can be so impressive, but also a good example of these turn meter mechanics. We have this zombie turn. We see B2 could very easily potentially activate off of this turn, but this is where Towson lead starts to kick in. We have this basic. This is going to give Daka 50% turn meter and start trying to claw us back in. If we can start to move forward, we can see Grievous. Sorry, go ahead.
You could potentially kill BB-8 here if you wanted to, because he's taunting, and Zombie would miss, but then if they call an assist, that would actually kill BB-8, most likely, and revive someone, probably triggering a great General Grievous AoE to kill everyone. But
right.
That is an option.
In this case, I figured we had to both play aggressive, we had to get the assist to get Daka some turn meter, and a little bit of, well, barely any extra bulk. But also we were kind of tiptoeing, right? Grievous is kind of low turn meter. B2 is at low turn meter. We have a BBA wiggle and a Magna AoE and a dream, basically. So we take our move, we hit the basic. B2 was gracious enough. We did get the non-B2 activation that we needed. And suddenly, with her turn meter mechanics and with one last move, our Daka can start to claw back into the fight. We gave her that extra turn meter. She got that extra speed. And I actually don't remember what move I made here, but I believe it kind of has to be a basic here, right? We need that turn meter above that Grievous with speed.
I guess it depends. If Grievous is going to do his AoE, then yeah, you need it. But you're not guaranteed an assist call either. So
right. So we took the basic. We did not kill them, and things are starting to stabilize somehow. We hit the revive and only got Talzin alive, which is also horrific RNG. But yeah, suddenly this is the revive of dreams, right? From a Daka stunned to 10% health all the way back to tops. It's a fight that I don't think necessarily, I didn't necessarily do something that got my Daka in that spot beyond, when you use Talzin AoE, the B1 will die eventually. But I think what matters the most here is what you do when you're placed in that position, right? If you happen to have Zombies heal special available, that might have looked very, very tempting. But the reason why we hit so hard on Talzin lead in the intro, or in the first video, is because of spots like these, right? There's so much value available in this team. And I'm assuming you've had plenty of situations like this as well.
Oh yeah, I mean, I love this team just because of the clench factor of being able to, like, half your team is dead or even almost all of your team is dead. I've actually come back one time with only zombie, crazy enough, but maybe it was someone else. It doesn't matter.
I buy the zombie, right? It's like, what if you hit a Talzin assist and she like break someone off, then you can get like the spirit. Yeah, there's a lot of ways that you can go from one alive to they're back.
Now, one reason I paused this here is because there's a couple options. So, Grievous, when you hit him, a lot of times he will dispel his buffs because if he's below 100% health, he'll dispel his debuffs. But if you have Plague, you actually have a couple options here. So you can do the damage with the basic and maybe call Mother Talzin to assist, and if you kill him, then she'll be back. Or you can also hit that stun button with the special, and he will stay stunned. So,
right.
I don't know what you choose here. Both have value because it's nice to be able to have that assist from Talzin, and then Daka will have one more death to be able to reduce her cooldowns, to be able to revive her eventually. There's a couple options here, and that's, as you were saying, the value of Talzin lead. You have a lot of options. It's not just it's not just one best option here.
Yeah, so it looks like I did go with basic there. I do agree with you. I do think Sun could have had value. I would say if you had a nice spear, right? If you give her some good damage mods and maybe she's got some relic levels on her, I would actually be a little bit nervous that maybe she snipes Grievous on accident and then, you finish the fight with a still dead Talzin kind of sad days, right?
Sure.
All right. Well, that's it for the Grievous fights. But Grievous is only the beginning for Nightsisters. This is a team that has, well, some wide reach, but let's look at the mirror because I think the mirror is kind of deceptively chaotic, right? It's what better
Oh,
way
yeah.
to counter yourself than with yourself, but also the plague stuns start flying, man. Can you go ahead and start to walk us through this?
Yeah. So this was a long time ago. I remember I needed to win this fight in order to actually win the match, and I needed a one shot. And gosh, it's stressful. But the awesome thing about Night Sisters is a lot of times you can really count. You can call your shots and figure out what the turn meter gain is going to be. You can figure out who you need to stun and who you need to hit, and there's just a lot of control here if you know all the mechanics in play.
Right. So here we see immediately a very nice. Actually, if we could go back and check that for a second, you pop a basic, drag the immediate Talzin turn, and as we kind of mentioned with that Talzin Zeta, it doesn't seem too crazy at first, but watch this drop. Kicked up Talzin immediately, one extra turn. Not going for the mass assist here, you might notice. The basic offering really, really nice pressure with that AoE. And yeah, I definitely agree with your call, man. That's some good stuff. That's a very shiny button, I think, in a lot of spots for a lot of people. And yeah, pretty nice value there.
Thanks, man. I mean, yeah, it's nice. It's nice to be able to recognize, like mechanics over, as you say, shiny button. Like I see people if they have a special, they take it, and I know I fall prone to that sometimes. I just
We all
start button
do.
mashing, but it's nice to know like that plague has a lot of value. Now instead of doing a basic, I did my mass assist because I thought maybe I'd kill Tal's in there. Instead, I got a stun, which is kind of nice because now she can't take a turn.
Yeah, Spirit Blade tends to feel almost like a plague stun tool for me a lot of the time, which, with Talzin lead, you get the automatic plague application, even if they didn't have it at the time. And yeah, right, we got Daka basic, we got Asajj basic as attempts, and a zombie even with the tenacity down, just for, hopefully a little bit of extra assistance in landing those.
Yeah. So one thing I was really trying to do here was equalize everyone's health and protection so that I could just get one big chop with Asajj or Talzin or something, just to be able to finish them all off at once. So you get a
Right.
couple kills. You don't want to have them feed turn meter. I think these guys were actually somewhat faster than me or better geared, something like that. So the idea is to get them all to almost no health and then just get one big chop. And obviously didn't quite work out there. Asajj is like, I see what you're doing.
You're not that sneaky. But yeah, we do have. I wasn't counting your
Oh
revives.
look, look at that. We were at four different characters stunned there for a second, and then I almost got Spirit stunned as well, I believe.
That is just what the Nightsisters are capable of as well, right? With as long as you keep pushing that turn meter, grabbing those deaths. Yep,
Yeah,
4.
check that out. Oh, okay. I wasn't gonna get the kill on or the stun on Spirit here. It was just a basic, but still, just kind of this nice moment because yeah, Daka can do that kind of thing.
Yep. And yeah, we're kind of moving things pretty nicely along here. You're still looking, very much in control compared to the opposing team. And yeah, I believe that was the second kill. Usually, I mean, if you're fighting against Night Sisters, whether you're playing yours or not, you want to be counting those zombie revive kills, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I feel like that's key for this team. Now look at my Spirit here. My Spirit hasn't been hit in the protection at all,
Yep.
or Asajj for that matter.
Asajj, I cannot explain. Spirit is, a little bit scrappy with that foresight.
Well, I think what this is, so that we have a good, like, it's a good mirror match. it's a mirror match, whatever. But I think that what this really accentuates, nice pause. What it really accentuates is just the control level that Nightsisters can exert. Like with all of the stuns and kind of just finesse with the plague and everything, you can really get to the point where, like you control the entire field. Everyone is stunned. You can do a lot of cool stuff with them if you know how to use them.
Yeah, and I think to really highlight that this was an example where your team wasn't really dying that much, right? Like I can't really remember you getting that many, like DACA stacks, DACA turn meter, Asajj turn meter. That was pretty much purely just stun and play gameplay, right?
Right. I think in this case, like I think what I recognized when I was doing this was if it turned into like she kills me, I kill her, like this nice sister chaos
Right.
killing, like it can get spiral out of control, and
Absolutely.
eventually I'm not going to be able to do anything. So, yeah, that's sometimes you got to play control, and against a team like Night Sisters, I guess it works.
Oh, when you have as much healing as they do.
Right. Well, it's such an interesting thing because they can heal so much,
Right.
and so it fights plague really nicely as well.
And yeah, I think this matchup for me is the king of clinch. If you think back to the first video, what did we mention as being scary for the Night Sisters debuff wise, right?
Right. Yeah. Like you have daze, healing immunity. I guess there's not shock. There is burning, but they're witches, so they can handle it.
There's also stuns.
There are.
R2 would love to remind you that he's got that shock pull.
Yeah, Poe has a stun as well. Ability block is actually pretty deadly to a lot of Night
Very true.
Sisters. Um, yeah, like Daka hates her situation right now. I'll tell you that.
Yeah, this is because of the zombie 2 stack mechanic, you kind of get a couple of call them mulligans or whatever, a couple of retries. So Daka is in a bad spot, but what we really become scared of is what if she stays in this spot and 2 other people die? Immediately we see them putting pressure onto Talzin, right? And that's when I start to sweat bullets.
Right, and so I mean, when you get the chance in this fight, like you got to kill Finn as quick as you can because he's the linchpin. A lot of people confuse that with BB-8, and on other comps that's true, but I would say Finn is the linchpin just because he takes so many turns. He's passing around turn meter, he's facilitating, he's healing. I think that's the biggest thing is he heals his guys so well.
I just want to point out right now, you just lost your second revive. Daka is 10% health or less with burning on.
Wow. Well, I mean, it's all good because Asajj is going to go.
We're still in control, but just that is the I'm trying to say like that is the clench level that this fight could have sometimes is there are thin margins.
Yeah, absolutely. And one thing that you guys will note too is you can't. So Ray can't just shake off the plague, which is nice. I identified BB-8 as maybe like the secondary linchpin, but
Yeah.
you don't want to hit BB-8 because he's just going to hit you back, and you're going to get tenacity down on you. He's going to call an assist on you. Like it's a huge mess. You want to just leave him alone till he's alone, like until you can stun him or till he's just by himself. Ray just keels over from zombie. I love it. Oh yeah, so the other option being the rest of the team is stunned.
Right.
Then you can hit him.
And also, yeah, with the Talzin, her AoE does indirect damage that can't be countered. That can also be another way I like to just plunk in some free damage while not trying to deal with BB-8 bullying you back.
Right, absolutely.
So yeah, I really like that as an example. With Talzin, we're talking about shiny buttons. We have the example coming up next of how this fight can also work, but definitely with some of that shiny button to spare. I believe I don't go your Spirit Blade opener, which I would actually say I prefer. I believe I take the more chaotic, just drop plague on them, and it's a good old slugfest.
Sure.
I'm not necessarily endorsing this, but I think it's a good contrast.
I think it is. I think I just always get afraid. Be it like if you do plague right away, like you're first off, you're not hitting Ray. Second off, BB-8 is going to be countering potentially,
Yep.
and third, if Finn throws his grenade, it's a grenade of healing, so all that plague might just disappear. So
Yep.
like those are the reasons I would maybe personally like. I just like to I just like to rush Finn personally.
It's definitely the right call. But this is an example of things working out. I can tell you right now, it doesn't always work out when you play it this way. I just want to point out or just show why I think the Spirit Blade opener ends up working so much nicer overall.
Wow, yeah, Doc's
Yeah.
not happy right now.
It's a lot of sisters who already died, and that's a Daka who is not feeling too good either. Yep. What do we do here? But of course.
Well, we think for a little bit.
And then we
Yeah.
drop it.
There is something to be said for Talzin just committing her own suicide, though.
Yeah.
Because she can. That's gonna fuel Daka. It's actually gonna fuel Asajj and stuff if she can choose the manner of her death. Now, I actually kind of like the AOE here a little bit, just because you're gonna miss two. Well, if BB-8 had foresight, I guess I should say. That way they're not going to be countering. But as it stands, I think. What do you want to do here? Basic?
Yep. It feels like basics to claw our way back in, right? With a Daka like this, I don't know if I go another basic. I almost kind of like the idea of another basic, but I think the danger was Daka basic has that second hit that can go wide and hit anyone. And you are playing a very dangerous game if Finn is left alive. This is the difference between your style and how I played this. I'm not even going to call this my style. This is just, right? Those counters are so dangerous for this team that, yeah, I don't think you want to play with fire. I don't think you want Talzin lead basics for the most part. In this case, or in this fight, I would say extra lives is a safety net for us.
Right. Yeah. It's also an interesting thing to note too, because this team is so reliant on exposed damage. All of that extra bonus health for Daka is actually not nearly as impactful as it would be in other matches. Like Grievous just deals straight up damage. These guys just deal 20% of whatever health you have. You could have 10 trillion health on Daka. Yep. They just take 5 hits on her and she dies.
You get the exposed spam, you get the burn tax putting pressure on you with R2. There are many ways that your Daka can have a miserable experience here on this fight.
Oh, but, and you have Poe, actually, yes. With his inspiration. He's doing percent health as well.
Yep. He's got inspired, he's got the daze, he's got the stun. Poe is a gunner with a mission, and I believe I've straight up lost the fight to Poe once. He's the one who put Daka down permanently.
Well, yeah, and it's like I'm not even mad. That's just amazing. But I do think too. Like this team works really well against resistance. Sometimes you just lose instantly. This isn't, we are showing all of these fights as wins because we have a limited amount of time and ability to show you guys this stuff. But this can go south so quickly.
Yes.
And I'm glad it didn't. For Fatal's sake, I've lost this a few times in GAC when it mattered. So it's not for the faint of heart. I wouldn't call this a standard counter. I'd call this a we really need to beat this team somehow counter.
This is anytime that you have a team that can kind of punch up. I mean, it's not always necessarily true that there is risk associated with it, but I think risk is kind of inherent to the idea of Nightsisters, right? You can't have a team that willingly dies without having a team that could potentially, dip too far into that for sure.
Right. Absolutely. This is such an interesting counter, and it scares the heck out of me.
Yep. CLS as well, Jedi Revan as well. Pretty much with any fight that we're calling Clench here, it all boils down to the same thing, which is you have your 2 free get out of jail free cards. You have Zombie can revive someone twice. And then your Daka is just fair game beyond that. And if your Daka becomes the AI's point of interest a little bit too much, it's rough riding, right?
Right. Oh, yeah. I remember I was telling a streamer once to try use like they really wanted to use Nightsisters against a General Skywalker team that was only like gear 11, he's lower gear, and they're like, man, Nightsisters will do it, and I was like, don't do it, and it looked like it was working. He killed all the clones on the 501st, and then Skywalker stands up and just one shots the whole, like, he doesn't even need like two hits. He just like does his little force push thing and they all just fall over. And I about died laughing because initially it looked like it was going to work and I was going to look like an idiot. But yeah, you need to look out for that kind of mechanic as well. Like, just being able to revive is such an important thing on this team, and if they could just deny it, like you said, a get out of jail free card, like, you don't even get that with General Skywalker. Like,
Yep.
you guys just die. So
Any sort of revive block mechanic, just right. It's not to say that Knights just can't, as you said, they got through all the clones. That's not easy to do, but
no, it was surreal, was what it was. I couldn't believe it, but yeah, he got through it.
Yep, it was just a surreal one day exploded.
Yeah, yeah, I about cried laughing, I think, because the guy was like, "See, I told you," like, and I'm like, "Oh, but you didn't actually. Nice try." But yeah,
Unfortunately.
Nightsisters, lots of fun, high risk, high reward. Oh, somewhat high reward. It really, like, we saw 57 banners on one of these fights, and that's by far the best you can hope for. Just plan on getting a 55.
Yep, this
And call it good.
100% 55 city. Just all I'll say is, as you're closing fights out, make sure that you're focusing on your team's health. It can be very easy to just close out a fight and cut some corners and bleed yourself for even 3 or so banners, right?
Oh yeah, that happens all the time. Luckily, Daka has that combo heal and revive. It's pretty nice,
Yeah,
but
it's a
it
good
doesn't
button.
always happen. I think my favorite way to finish a fight, if it's possible, is with a Talzin big call to assist, because that will max, if it ends with a kill on someone, then it'll get everyone up to max health.
Yep, mass revive, mass heal. It is. If you're looking for insurance that you get the best score possible, what more could you ask for?
55. Take it to the bank, because yeah, you got lucky. Probably.
A
Nice
little bit.
sisters. Yeah.
But yeah, I think we can go ahead and take this video to the bank as well. Yeah, man, I think we're pretty set here in terms of Nightsisters. There are more matchups out there, and as we were saying, I think there is plenty of footage that can be found of them. This is mostly just hoping to get you on the ground and ready to go for at least some initial battles, right?
Oh yeah, that's absolutely what this is. So yeah, I think this is a good foundation, and hopefully you guys can learn from there. Me and Fatal both use our Nice Sisters compulsively against General Grievous when we can. So
For better or for worse.
yeah, I know. So sometimes I'm like, I know I have a better counter than this, but it's fun. I'm gonna hit the
Yep.
fun button, so the
Yep.
clench button.
Yeah, man.
Uh,
All right. I want to thank you all for checking out this video. And honestly, I'm assuming you might be as well. I'm interested to hear some feedback. Let us know what you think. Any requests on your ends?
Oh, feedback is also great. Hit that like button, guys. Let's get on the algorithm. Let's do it.
Fabled algorithm. Maybe someday we'll make it into halls of YouTube. Yeah, that's it for us. Thank you all for watching and happy hunting.